as someone who led recruitment teams, what really makes a good recruiter?
So I think I'm going to be maybe a little bit controversial in my answer, which I know will surprise you immensely.
Welcome home, my friend.
Yeah,
Welcome home.
Thank you.
This is the place.
Technical expertise means nothing, in my opinion. Even when I started out as a recruiter 20 years ago, I was recruiting in civil engineering, and I got put into civil engineering recruitment. I didn't know what civil meant. I remember my first interview, I even answered the question of, my first question to the person I was interviewing was, what does civil engineering mean to you? For me, the soft skills are the most important part of it. Emotional intelligence, massively. EQ has been a massive thing that I look for in recruiters. Resilience. You have to be able to take the hits and run with it, because that's definitely a part of the game. Communication is the most important part. You have to be able to deal with stakeholders. You have to be able to manage stakeholders. You need to be able to, whether that be through an agency, whether external clients and understanding and being able to communicate properly. You need to be able to give strong feedback, both positive and negative.
Can I just bring you back on the emotional intelligence? That whole, I hear from recruiters, hang out with recruiters all the time, and they talk about the ups and downs, the roller coaster stuff, and they call it, some people even say champagne and razor kind of stuff, which is pretty severe to call it.
But it's true.
So that's what you're talking about,
true.
yeah? Handle those. Yep.
People call them recruitment consultants, but they're the only consultants in the world that don't get paid for their time. You only get paid on results, usually.
Got it.
Internal functions, obviously it's different. You're getting paid no matter what, even when you're not getting commission. But as a function, you're getting paid on the results that you do, usually. Okay, there's a few, obviously, exceptions to that rule and outliers to that. But you have to be able to understand that a pipeline is so much more than what it seems, because you have to be constantly, the old spinning plates analogy, you know what I mean, there's sticks with the spinning plates. You have to be able to do 15 different things at once. You need to be managing the candidate, managing, the hiring manager, managing your boss, getting them off your back, who with increased pressure on needing to bill or recruit more people, are always going to be pushing you. You have to be able to deal with that resilience and that emotional intelligence to be able to understand what's important and what's not important.
So what are the qualities on top of, for example, being a salesperson? So,
I actually don't think salespeople necessarily are the best recruiters.
Please explain.
And most people are thinking that salespeople are great recruiters.
Yeah, I would have thought so.
100%. But recruitment is not what it used to be. Recruitment is not the agency days of the 90s and the 80s, in which it was literally cutthroat. You found a person and tried to farm it out to anybody that you want. Recruitment has changed because of the invention of this little thing called LinkedIn and other social medias with it. You can find the people now. It's not about how to find the people. It's about how to engage them, how to have those conversations with them, how to explain what the role is, how to make sure that they've got not necessarily just the experience, because you're not just going through a CV and going tick, tick, tick. You're going, what are the capabilities that make up that role? What are the most important parts of that role? Thinking outside the square. The war for talent, as everyone calls it, is rife. It's huge. And so you need to be able to think outside the square to be able to get those elements into it.
How about, as part of that question as well, if that recruiter needs to recruit senior people, CFO, execs, etc., what does it take for someone to be able to recruit senior people?
I think it comes down to confidence. I think the biggest thing for executive recruitment is that confidence element, because, and I've worked with a lot of recruiters in my career. It's funny, you have these amazing recruiters that are so good up to a certain level because they feel like they're dealing with them and they can relate to them. Yeah. Whereas you start to get them to recruit for executives, they almost lose that relation piece. They don't know what to talk to them about. They don't know how to approach them. They feel nervous being able to have that conversation. But that's not confidence. That's
what I thought that should be going. You said confidence. I'm sure that is needed as well. But where I was guessing this would be going is, you've got to be able to have a conversation with people like that. And that takes experience and takes the fact that you've been hanging out with people like that. You know the kind of language.
Yes, but you can be confident and have it and feel okay to have a conversation with somebody like that without having experience.
Have you heard of the Imposter Syndrome?
What's the Imposter Syndrome?
It's a new thing. It's when people...
It sounds like it was built on me, to be honest with you, in my career. But anyway, okay.
No, this is pertaining... I'm hoping you would agree that it's pertaining to what you're saying about the confidence. So with the Imposter Syndrome, and I'm a victim of that, you could be so successful and you you make win after win after win at what you do.
Mm-hmm.
In my case, as a founder, as a CEO, I know people who built multi-billion-dollar companies, the best in their categories. We're talking about, and even after exiting, they continued to feel they were an imposter. They were fake. They never actually built something, a widget that makes sense for a customer. Yeah, that kind of thing.
100%.
So that confidence, is that related to that?
100%. And I think the funny thing about that is, and I was reading an article about it probably 6 months ago. It wasn't called Imposter Syndrome; it was called something else, but based around that philosophy. That more and more so, it's exponentially rising, that everybody is feeling that way now.
Interesting.
That everybody's feeling that way, because the way that we have access to see what's actually happening in social media and so on, we're all feeling that way now. We've all got that element.
I'm going to read about that.
At different levels. So anyway, well,
interesting.
But yeah, so yeah, definitely. But there's also people out there. So for instance, when I first started recruiting, I was recruiting $300,000 a year civil estimators. And I didn't know what civil engineering meant, but I had the confidence to be able to sit there and have that conversation with them and have those conversations. There is people that struggle with that element. I don't necessarily think you have to have the experience to be a very good executive recruiter.
I definitely agree with that. You're right. There's kind of confidence, and you being a social human being and someone who's can just be, you don't really need to understand what a CFO does to be able to have a good conversation with him about the role and what they aspire, what they want to do, that synergy, between 100%. The two.
It's easy with a CFO. They just say no all the time. That's all they need to do.
Okay. So just summarise it for us, the top 3 things that you look for in a good recruiter.
Emotional intelligence, definitely, EQ, which comes with the resilience side of things. Communication, the ability to communicate with all different levels within an organisation, including candidates. Let's not forget the candidates, being able to have empathy towards the candidates and what you're doing in regards to and how you're working with them, definitely.
Okay.
And the ability to be resilient, organised, be able to spin multiple plates if need be, as the old analogy goes, more than anything else. That's the top 3 for sure.
Okay.